Okay, let's have a look at the area of rectangles. We're going to look at two things. Firstly, the idea of a shape being presented on a grid, and you're being asked to find the area of that particular shape. So it's about looking at the grid that you're given and understanding that normally each one of these would be 1 unit of length. Sometimes it'll tell you centimetres or metres, whatever that is. So take note of that in the question. And then be given this image, and really what you're being asked to do here is to look at the shape. So you can see here that this area here fills let's say they're worth 1 centimetre. Okay, so that's 1 centimetre squared, okay, would be that particular shape there. And then you've got this shape here, and you can see that this triangular wedge here, if I colour that in a bit more completely, that would fit into that little spot there. So that would give us a second 1 centimetre squared as well. So that will give us a total of 2 centimetres squared. Now, we use the term centimetre squared because when we're looking at these shapes, we're looking at this idea that each of these shapes has 1 unit of measurement on each side, and in this case we'll use centimetres, but it could be metres, kilometres, etc. And so it's 1 centimetre in that direction either way, and it's 1 centimetre in that direction either way, so creating a square, 1 centimetre squared. Let's look at a rectangle now. One of the things to take note of is whenever we're looking at shapes, see what information you're being told. Typically with a rectangle, the longer side is the length, the shorter side is the width, and what you'll notice in this particular drawing, even though the drawing itself might not be that great, that these symbols on here indicate that they're the same length, and that these two here mean that they're the same length, okay? So take note of those things because it'll allow you to look at a drawing and differentiate. It's probably more of a problem when you've got shapes that look very much like a square, and then if you get this scenario, you then know that that's not a square, and in fact it's actually a rectangle. But if you ended up with this scenario where you've got just single lines on each one, you know that it's a square because all the sides are the same length. So we've added some distances to each of these sides now, and so we can see that the area of a rectangle is the length multiplied by the width. So we need to multiply this length here by this width here, and it'll often be presented to you as L times W. And what we can simply do is to substitute in the value. So where there's an L, we put in the value we're given, which in this case is 20 metres, so times by 20, and times by W, which in this case is 10 metres and 10. And you'll notice that we don't put the unit in here, we don't put metres in here, okay? There's just the number, but we need to take note of that. And then we can do the multiplication, 20 times 10 is 200, and now we add on the metres and it's squared because it's an area. We've changed the distances now, and what we notice here is we have kilometres and we have metres. So when it comes down here to do the length times the width, we have to make sure that we're multiplying by units that are the same. So we have to make a decision. Do we go kilometres times kilometres or metres times metres? So we'll do two versions of this. So I'll just put a L times W on that side, and we'll do the same thing on both sides. So here, if we do metres first, so that would be 2,000 metres, because 2 kilometres is 2,000 metres multiplied by 500 metres. And that would be equal to also to 2 kilometres multiplied by 500 in kilometres is half a kilometre, so 0.5. And then we have here, so that will give us 25 times 5 is 10, and then we can add the remaining zeros. So we need to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. And that gives us 1,000,000 metres squared. And that's the same as 2 times a half, which is 1 kilometre squared. Either one would be an acceptable answer, provided that the question doesn't ask you for something specific, because it might ask you to answer in kilometres squared, answer in metres squared, whichever one, and then you'd have to make sure you do the correct calculation. All right, we've given, this question here is to do with carpeting a room. The room's 6 metres by 5 metres and it costs $70 per square metre. So to calculate this answer, it would be firstly find the area of the room, which would be 6 multiplied by 5. So that's going to equal 30 metres squared. And then $70 for every square metre. So we then need to multiply that by 70. And that will give us 2,100, and that's dollars. Now we have, we're given a square and we're told that the square has a perimeter of 48, and then we're asked what is the area of that particular shape. So what we can do here is we can take 48 and we can divide it by 4 for each of the 4 sides, and that will equal 12 metres. So that means each of these sides is 12 metres. I would always advise that once you get a bit of information, if you can, just add it to your diagram, because it helps to visually connect that information to the diagram. So now that we know that that's 12 metres, we can then do one of two things. We can use the rule just for area of a rectangle, which is length times width. So this will be 12 times 12. So it'll equal 144, okay, metres squared. And there's another one for area of a square, which is lengths squared. So that'll also give you 12 times 12.